So if you did not watch, Luka Doncic had 39 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. He's getting all the headline love. It's a smooch fest as the Mavericks stunned the Clippers. They get a 6-point win. They shot almost 60% from the floor. There was very little resistance and a high-scoring game. The game was like a track meet at the beginning there in the first half in particular. So the Mavericks take a 2-0 series lead in the first-round matchup. Now, Dallas led most of the fourth quarter, but the Clippers made a run and closed the gap. But then they came up short. They ran out of gas there in the final couple minutes. We've seen this act before. The better story being in the losing locker room as the Clippers taking it on the chin now and trailing, losing both games at home. So let us discuss the question on the MALLER scale of panic for the Clippers, the people's team, being down 0-2 to the Mavericks. Now, the MALLER scale of panic goes 1 to 10, with 10 being placed inside a wood chipper. That would be a 10. So I'm at a 7.5 for the Clippers. I'm not going to go higher than a 7.5. These are very tense. It's been distressing to watch these close games that are toss-up games go the way of Dallas, but it's plenty of opportunity left for the Clippers here. So my observations, you got penalty box, peach basket, and drawing. And we will lock all of these things together into an approved MALLER monologue. Now, number one. So the Clippers stars were as good as advertised. We'll start with that. Kawhi Leonard played like a supernova. 41 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Outstanding. The epitome of what a headliner is supposed to be. No qualms, no complaints, none of that. Kawhi Leonard brought it. Now, Paul George, much to the dismay of the trolls, Paul George performed the sidekick role as was the expectation. That was playoff P, 28 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. There were a couple of spots in the game where he didn't play great, but that's nitpicking. Overall, you'll take that number right now. If you can bottle that and put that on the shelves at Costco and sell that under the Kirkland brand label, you would do it, right? You would take that on a nightly basis. So what went wrong? I will tell you. All right, I have the diagnosis here. Dr. Ben is in. There are 2 players, who in particular need to go into the Clippers penalty box. And I am looking at you, Marcus Morris, and I'm looking at you, Patrick Beverley. Now, I like both these guys, but we believe in truth in broadcasting, and they sucked at a time you cannot suck. And they combined, those 2, in the starting lineup for 12 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, and 9 fouls. Marcus Morris, Sr., fouled out with negative to no impact. Now, Beverly, who is normally right in the middle of everything, he was in the middle of a lot, but as the glue guy, by his standard, he was a non-factor. I like the moxie, I like the guts, but I need more. And those guys were outshined by scrubs. It's becoming the normal here. The Clippers have been very good. They've been in the playoffs year after year here. And it's not the stars that beat them. It wasn't Luka Doncic that beat them. It was Maxi Kleber and Tim Hardaway Jr., who's about half the player his father was back in the day. Nobody expected that to be the case. And if you say different, you are a liar. Your nose is growing. Now, the Clippers closed this game within 4 points with under 2 minutes to go. It was anyone's game. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. knocked down the money ball, and the Mavericks take the money bag and get the victory in this particular game. That was the separation point, the final separation point, if you will, in this game. But when you slice the numbers up and you say Kleber, he's only 13 points. That's not that much. But Tim Hardaway Jr., 28. They combined for a very surprising 41 points between those 2 guys. Now, secondly, as far as Luka Doncic, I know I'm a man on an island, and I will continue to be a man on the island. He's getting the glory from the basketball media yet again. The guy's got to have the cleanest toes in the NBA, Luka Doncic, because the media are consistently sucking his toes. It's so nauseating. Listen, Luka Doncic is a good player. He's not the greatest thing since the Peach Basket, right? Let's pump the brakes on that. Like, this is like the greatest thing since Dr. James Naismith hung a Peach Basket up to invent the game of basketball. NBA marketing, I understand what they're trying to do. The marketing arm of the NBA is trying to build up the myth, the legend of Luka and all that. But from a pure basketball standpoint, if you have half a brain and any working IQ points in your head, Kawhi Leonard crossed out the impact of Luka Doncic. The stat line, while Gotti was a wash. As we outlined, this game was won because some of the auxiliary players there, the auxiliary players, were knocking down big shots. These are players who are of small significance for Dallas, who performed outside their skill set. There's no other way to say it. Now, I mentioned the penalty box for Marcus Morris Sr. and Patrick Beverley. They combined for 12 points. Mentioned that Klebaugh and Hardaway Jr. combining for 41 points. Right there, that is the point of separation in this game. You expect if somebody else is going to have a monster game, it was Kristaps Porzingis. And while he was good, he made a bunch of shots. 20 points is a workable number for Porzingis. What you don't account for is Tim Hardaway Jr. going out for 28 and Klebaugh making select. He didn't make a ton of shots. He only had 13 points, but he made some key shots in odd situations. So, final point on this. Those that are shoveling dirt on the Clippers grid, I'm sure there are many. I have not been paying attention. I'm sure they're out there. I hate to break it to you, right? The series is far from over, and I had to inform some people. Because I was getting some text messages, and my phone was blowing up at the end of the Clipper game. I thought, boy, maybe I won the lottery or something like that, or I got that big morning gig somewhere. I'm going to get paid big money. No. It was instead, the cheap trolls who don't even follow basketball, those types. That, the low information type that doesn't know much and then just tries to bust your balls and things like that. But just for reference here, this is not a best of three series. If it was a best of three, then we would be playing taps for the Clippers. It's not. And check this out. This is going to blow you away. It's not a best of five. So if it was a best of five, the Maller scale of panic would be much higher than a 7.5. The Mavericks still have to win 2 more games. They're playing above their talent level. That does not last. There is going to be a regression to the mean for Dallas. They're not going to continue to knock down these 3-point shots the way they've done it. And I'm talking about the secondary players. The Clippers, now they have the work cut out for them. We know that. But it's not like going to Dallas as a pit of vipers. No one ever said in my life, oh, my God, we got to play the Mavericks on the road. Holy crap. Nobody goes into Dallas and gets a win. Nobody ever said that. It doesn't exist. So this idea that the crowd is going to be a factor, it's bull crap, right? And NBA teams have come back plenty of times down 0-2, and down 0-2 losing both games at home. Been teams that have gone on to win the championship doing that. For example, the Rockets back in the day with the great Hakeem Olajuwon pulled it off. And Kawhi Leonard, pound for pound, as good as Hakeem Olajuwon. So the Clippers are in good shape in that regard. This Clipper team is going to have a chance to change some things around here, and we will see what kind of gumption they bring in Game 3. It is back to the drawing board and the drawing of X's and O's, right? Simple things. Like in Game 2, I'm going to go circle back to what we were talking about, where these backup guys that are not big stars making shots. Now, Luka Doncic, who gets all the headlines and everything, oh, Luka this, Luka that, let me massage his balls. Luka was 5 of 13 from three-point land. That's 38%. That's secondary actors for Dallas. Players not named Doncic took 21 three-point shots and made 13 of them. They made almost 62% of their three-point shots. The player's not named Luka. All right, so you think that's going to continue? Yeah, I don't think that's going to continue either. Of course not. Now, Uncle Dennis, Kawhi, and Ty Lue, they're the ones calling the shots there. I'm sure they will work tirelessly. If not, then heads will roll again. But it's not like the Clippers are far away. And if you know anything about basketball, you know that to be true. The margins are very thin in most playoff games, although that Nets-Celtics game, the first game of the night, was not that was not a margins were thin situation. But for the unknowledgeable basketball fan, and the trolls who don't understand this, there's a little bit of nuance that goes into it. Like, these first two games were nip and tuck games. They came down to the wire. Clippers and Mavericks were tied up in game one with 3 minutes and 12 seconds to go. And then we saw the breaks go the way of Dallas. And in game two, the Clippers closed within 4, feeling pretty good about themselves. And then, pretty nobody guy, a journeyman guard, Tim Hardaway Jr., knocks down a big 3-point shot. But that's the way the cookie crumbled. And we'll see if the cookie crumbles the other way. But we will see if the tide does turn, and I believe it will, going back to Dallas. I hit all your little sound effects and all that. All your little sound effects. That's fine.